So tell us about that. You said last and then
place,
and then almost third,
Yep.
and then gold. Like, you know, in any sport, you usually don't see the Australian cross country team go from last to almost placing to first
Right.
in an 8-year. I mean, that's a huge evolution in any sport, much less a team sport where players are changing around. And I'm sure the team, 8 years later wasn't the same as 8 years previous. So
That's right.
talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, it was gnarly. I mean, we went into Sydney, it was in 2000. That was my first Olympics. We weren't a bad team by any means. I think we were ranked 5th in the world. So we kind of went into the games thinking we're going to compete for a medal. We just dramatically underperformed. It was just disappointing. We had some key injuries, and there's a lot of different reasons, but in the end, we didn't play well. That was it. And I remember when on my way back from Sydney, I was on the airplane, and I was thinking, just kind of reflecting on what I just experienced, right? I'm like, man, did I get into the wrong, did I choose the wrong path here? Because I just felt defeated.
Right. I mean, coming in last, that's the worst you can do, right?
We didn't win it. We didn't win a single match.
Holy shit.
We didn't win a single match. We lost every single match. And so I'm thinking to myself, here's the biggest thing I looked at the team that eventually won and how we performed and how good they played. And to me, it was the Grand Canyon of chasms. And I thought it would be near impossible to make up the ground that we would need to make up to go from where we just performed to being the best in the world. And it was a little demoralizing. I'm thinking, man, is this something I want to keep doing? Because there's no way we can get there, even though I wanted to. So we go through that next quad, 4 years, the Olympics, we call it a quad, and we go into Athens.
So wait, real quick.
Yeah.
You're on the plane. You're like, I'm defeated. Fuck this. Maybe I picked the wrong thing. Where does the fire spark again to be like, all right, you know what I really want to do 8 hours a day is work 8 hours a day for 4 years to try to get back there and not come in last.
Right.
I can't say I would have had the intestinal fortitude to do that. So where does the fire rekindle, or where did the rocky moment happen where the team was like, all right, now we got to do this again?
I think for me personally, it was a little bit of, I was being a little naive. Because I was young still at that time, you know what I mean? When you're 22, you're like, you don't care, you know what I mean? I just wanted a ball, you know what I'm saying? So to hang it up just because, we underperformed wasn't something I was interested in doing. I wanted to experience the Olympics again because it was such a cool experience. And I wanted to go almost redeem. So there was a little bit of that redemption factor. And so going into Athens 4 years later, let's see, when was it? So about 4 weeks before the games. In fact, we were right about ready to go to Athens because you go quite a bit early to acclimate. In practice, I end up with a really bad high ankle sprain like what LeBron has. And the doctors tell me, this isn't looking good. You got 4 weeks till the first match. You're going to be out rehabbing 6 to 8 weeks. And I just kind of looked at him and I said, no, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And the coach was there too. And he needs to roll the dice as well, because he needs to know, do I need to bring someone else to fill the spot? And I tell him, I said, his name was Doug Beal at the time. I said, Doug, I'm going to be ready. I don't care. I'll wear a cast on the court. You got to take me. I'm not going to let this detract me from going. And so that games in Athens was the only Olympics where I wasn't able to walk in the opening ceremonies because I was still rehabbing my ankle. They wouldn't let me. People don't know, when you walk in the opening ceremonies, you're on your feet for 5 hours that night. No place to sit down, nothing. You're just walking forever. And oftentimes, a lot of people choose not to walk because they've got to compete the next day. And when you get home from the opening ceremonies, even though it's an incredible experience, as you can imagine, you're exhausted.
Yeah, the emotion.
You're super pumped up. It's hard physically. You're kind of moving around because you're meeting so many people. It's like a really good chance to meet not only the American athletes, which is cool because you got all the NBA guys you get to hang with. You got the Williams sisters to hang with. You see there's Nadal, there's Federer, and you're just like, dude, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And you get to hang with all of them.
And you look like one of the basketball players because you're about the right height, right? So the volleyball players and the basketball players probably hang out together.
Totally. I got some good basketball stories about those guys, but even Kobe too. It's pretty cool. But That one I couldn't go. I couldn't walk in the opening, and so I had to watch it from the village, and I was so bummed. But I'm like, look, this is bigger than the opening ceremonies. First match, I don't start. I'd been a starter the whole quad, and they decided that I wasn't ready to start, and we ended up starting to lose the first match. So you could probably think about it. My first Olympics, I lost every match. The first game in my next Olympics, we're losing. I'm thinking, man, like, am I ever going to win in the Olympics? And they end up, I think we lost the first set, and our coach said, you know, he kind of looks at me, he goes, you ready to go? And I'm like, yeah. And what they had done is they had like used this special tape on my foot, and they'd put my foot in a position where I had no flexibility. It's almost like a cast. And I had to go play. But, you know, once you step on the court, the adrenaline gets going.
Yeah.
It was ball time. And so we ended up winning the match. And I played the rest of the Olympics. My ankle never hurt me the whole time.
Just pure adrenaline.
Yeah. It was mind over body. You know, I could still see that it was hurt. I kept kind of referring to our team doctor saying, hey, I'm not doing structural damage here. This isn't something that's going to sneak up on me later, right? He said, no, you're good to go. It's strong. Your flexibility is pretty good. It's getting better every day, even though you're playing on it. And by the end of the tournament, I was totally back to normal. So
amazing. So this is in where was this Olympics?
Athens, Greece.
So you're in Athens, Greece,
Yeah.
and you guys came in.
We make all the way to the bronze medal match.
Oh.
And we play against Russia. And unfortunately, we just do not match up well against Russia for some reason. And we fought hard. It was a close match, but they ended up beating us for the bronze. And so we ended up taking fourth place, which is a lot better than last. At least we gave ourselves a chance to do something.
Right.
But still, there was just this huge gap still. Because we look at the team that won in Athens and us even in fourth place, and the gap was massive still.
And what do you equate that to when you say the gap is massive? Like the players were just that more talented, or they had a better system? Like when you're thinking about the gap, is it like those dudes had six packs and we didn't? Like what are you looking at, or what are you thinking of, or what are you evaluating?
I think it's just the overall level of play. Like in Brazil, so 2004, Brazil won the gold medal, and they were so far head and shoulders above everybody else that it was pretty unbelievable, actually. They were just playing a different style, a different way of volleyball at that time, and it was so much better than everybody else. And I don't think anybody was going to beat them in those games. It was their time, right? But it also provided us a framework around what we needed to do to get better. We had 4 years, try to figure it out. We had a head coaching change, which played a major impact on the culture of our team. We really needed a different culture, one that was much more focused on being the best rather than just doing good job. And this new head coach really instilled that in that team. And we put forth the effort. The quad didn't start off great. Like one of the first major tournaments in the quad is World Championships. I think that's like the second year after the Olympics. So if the Olympics is 2004, World Championships would be in 2006, for instance. And I want to say we took like a 9th. So nobody really had us on the radar. The only thing that was different was the last major tournament before the Olympics in Beijing was a big, massive tournament called World League. The U.S. had never won that tournament, and we won that tournament. So we go into that tournament kind of like feeling we're like the best team in the world right now. And this will be interesting because a lot of people they'll remember this story. And I don't know if you guys remember this too, but so 2 days before our first match in Beijing, our head coach, his mother-in-law, father-in-law, and his wife are also in Beijing to cheer us on, right? They go sightseeing in Beijing to a popular tourist attraction called the Drum Tower, which is this tower in the middle of Beijing, right next to Tiananmen Square, where you take an elevator to the top. There's a big platform, and you kind of overlook Beijing, right? So they're there. They've got a tour guide. They take the elevator. They walk out the elevator, and a crazy Chinese local guy steps out of the shadows with a 12-inch knife and attacks them and murders our head coach's father-in-law at the scene. Stabs his mother-in-law multiple times, stabs their tour guide, Luckily, his wife was far enough away that she was uninjured, and then he ran off the side of the tower and commits suicide.
Holy
this
shit.
is 2 days before our first match at the Olympics. It's the day before the opening ceremonies. This happens. And I remember it was gnarly because we were at practice. Our head coach was there. Nobody had known yet. It just happened. All of a sudden, we kind of see these kind of official-looking people come into practice, and I thought they were media because they immediately go to our head coach, and he runs out of the gym. I'm thinking, what's going on? Like, did he forget that he had some type of media engagement?
Yeah, here's the drug test team
which
from
happens
China.
a lot in the Olympics, right? So we were kind of at the end of practice. We finished practice. They take us into this little boardroom, and in the boardroom is a member of the FBI, a member of the Secret Service, and then the head of the USOC security detail, who is also a former FBI agent. And they say, guys, this is what's happened. And we're just like blown away. We're like, oh my God. Because we knew his in-laws, his wife is also a volleyball player. And we were friendly with their family.
Yeah, of course.
And we were just devastated. And there was a lot of unknown questions at that time too. Was it a targeted attack? Are there people targeting American tourists? Because a lot of our guys, their families at that time were coming to Beijing for the Olympics.
Right.
So
and this is what year?
It was 2008.
In 2008, we don't have the best relationship with China. We still don't have the best relationship with China. So kind of weird going to what people forget sometimes as a communist country where you don't have a lot of understanding of the culture.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you guys got to all be freaking out. Like, is my family safe? Is my mom going to get stabbed in the...
It's exactly what we were thinking.
Oh, my God.
And so we come to a pretty hard conclusion that we're going to be playing these games without our head coach. Some things are obviously bigger than volleyball in the Olympics at this time. And so we kind of come together as a team and we say, look, it is what it is. We can let this unforeseen tragedy, circumstance define what we're here to do. Or look, I coach a lot, and I tell people that as a coach, you can only get your players to a certain point. But once the whistle blows, as a coach, you can't really control much. At that time, it's about what are the players going to do to go execute on what we've prepared you to go do, right? I say this quote a lot when I do a lot of shows, as I do interviews, because I think it perfectly portrays what the mindset was at that time for our team. I was at a conference once, and this guy quoted a Navy SEAL captain, and the quote was, as Navy SEALs, this is what the captain's saying, under times of pressure, we don't rise to the occasion. You know how you normally hear people talk about, wow, like you really must have rose to the occasion on that one. This Navy SEAL captain saying, as Navy SEALs, we don't ever rise to the occasion. We sink to our level of training. That's why we train so hard as Navy SEALs. And I remember hearing that, and I thought, that is a really powerful statement. And then it immediately reminded me of what we went through in Beijing. During times of pressure, this is a huge time of pressure, tragedy, right? You don't rise to the occasion. You sink to your level of preparation. That's why you prepare so hard. So game one comes on and it's on, right? I mean, we just ball out. We win the first game. You play 5 games in your pool. Win. Come out of our pool first. Go into the medal round. Win, gold, undefeated.
Wow. So it's kind of like soccer, right? Like the World Cup, how you play in your pool, and then the winners of the pools go on to play an elimination tournament.
That's right. You got 2 pools of 6 teams. So you got 12 teams total. The first place team from one pool plays the 4th place team from the other pool. Crossover. Second place plays 3rd place, right? It goes like that.
Yep.
During that crossover, that's the quarterfinals. Then you go on to the semifinals. Then you go on to the finals. What's really interesting is we get past the quarterfinals, semifinals. Who do you think we're up against? Russia, which we hadn't beaten in a major competition in a long time. We just, for some reason, didn't match up well against the Russians.
I mean, Drago, like, the steroids, they help.
And I tell people all the time, I say, if you guys want to watch a good volleyball match, go watch the 2008 semifinal match, USA-Russia. So we go up 2-0. We play 2 fantastic first sets. We're feeling pretty good. We have 1 set to go play for a gold medal, which none of us on the team has been able to do. Of course, what does Russia do? They immediately come back, totally bounce back. They win the next 2 sets. So now we're in the tie break. And it goes all the way down to over points right to the last minute. And we end up coming up with some clutch plays, and we end up beating the Russians finally. And then we get to the finals. Guess who we play against? The defending Olympic champions, who are Brazil. And for some reason, we matched up against Brazil really well. All the other teams in the world at that time all hated playing against Brazil. They didn't match up against them really well, except us. We would beat them and regularly at tournaments. I mean, they'd beat us too, but like we would beat them way more than other teams would beat them. They just didn't like playing against our style of play, and we ended up playing a really good finals match. And we
When you say style, do you mean the speed of the game? Is it the way the height matches up? Is it the way, like, because I think of style in like college football. You know, you have the traditional power I, we're going to run it down your throat. And then you have the air raid offense that Texas Tech made really famous, where you've got, 4 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. But in my mind, in volleyball, when you have 6 people in fixed positions, it's like, how much does the style change? Like, when you say our style matches up, what does that mean?
Yeah, we were in Beijing. We had an interesting structure on our team. So we had a really tall setter. Our setter was 6'8". He and I are about the same size, which that's really tall. I mean, in comparison, the Brazilian setter was about 6'3". So that's a pretty big difference. We had a really big, powerful right side player, which in the game of volleyball is critical because in general, rule of thumb is the majority of sets go to the right side player. So having somebody that can really put the ball away at a consistent basis on the right side is really important in volleyball. And then we had scrappy players. Our outside hitters, our pin hitters, were a little smaller, but really scrappy. And then 2 very solid middle blockers, myself and our other middle blocker. And for some reason, that mixture of talent and the way we played our system, Brazil just could never really figure us out.
So that outside right hitter is kind of the superstar in indoor volleyball.
He was the MVP of the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
He was the best player in the world at that time by a long shot.
What's that guy's name?
His name is Clay Stanley, 6'9", probably 275.
275. I had like 6% body fat or something.
Could easily touch 12.3, 12.4, and hit the ball harder than I think I've seen anybody ever hit the ball in the sport of volleyball. I've never seen anybody hit the ball like this guy. He's just a massive. He's Hawaiian. He's just a big, lumbering dude, and what was interesting is I was actually fortunate enough to be in a position to actually set. It was a kind of an off play for us to win gold, the gold medal point. I actually set, and I set it to him, and he hit it over the Brazilian block, and we won gold, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. That's like your Rudy moment, right?
Totally.